Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the regular scheduled City Council meeting of Wednesday, June 4th, 2025, 5 p.m. Let the record show all councilors are present with the exception of Councilor Swiberger. At this time, we'll do adds and deletes. Adds consent agendas number 11, number 12, number 13, number 19, and number 20. And we'll move on to the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. I'm looking for approval of the agenda. Wishes of the council.
So moved.
So moved by Councilor Fossil or Councilor Bayless?
Sure. Yes.
Yes. Support by Councilor Bayless.
Support.
Support by Councilor
Fossil.
Very good. I knew it was to my left. So we have a motion and a second. Wish of the council. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. Move on to approval of minutes. Approve the minutes of the Hibbing City Council meeting May 21st, 2025. Wishes of the council.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Whitney.
Do this all night?
Support by Councilor Fossil. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. 2, approve the minutes of the Hibbing City Council workshop of May 21st, 2025. Wishes of the council.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Councilor Whitney.
Support.
Support by Councilor Hildebrand. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay. Motion carries. Move on to the consent agenda number 1. Approve the accounts payable dated 5/28/2025, checks number 180091 through 180093 in the amount of $914,606.76. 2, approve the accounts payable dated 5/30/2025, checks 180094 through 180195 in the amount of $715,517.90 and drafts in the amount of $242,314.41. 3, authorize the mayor to sign a letter of support for the City of Hibbing's request for corridors of commerce readiness advancement funding for advancing project development of Highway 169. 4, authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign a proclamation declaring June 25th as Gun Violence Awareness Month. 5, authorize the Hibbing City Council to attend the Hibbing Economic Development Authority meeting of June 9th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the City Hall Council chambers. 6, approve the updated facility lease agreement between the Hibbing Curling Club and the City of Hibbing. 7, approve the block party application of Community Dig in Historic North Hibbing on Friday, August 15th and Saturday, August 16th, 2025. 8, approve the safety program policies effective June 4th, 2025. 9, approve the updated school resource officer job description. 10, approve the updated investigator job description. 11, authorize the hire of Leandra Jackson for temporary animal care attendant pending pre-employment contingencies. 12, authorize the hire of Elia White for the temporary animal care attendant pending pre-employment contingencies. 13, authorize the hire of Gary Stark for full-time maintenance person pending pre-employment contingencies. 14, authorize the hire of Miranda Siopa for the full-time accounting clerk pending pre-employment contingencies. 15, approve the raffle permit application request of Children of Grace Child Care and Education Center to hold a raffle on Friday, August 15, 2025 at Children of Grace Raffle. 16, approve the 2025 liquor license of My Store. 17, approve the 2025 off-sale liquor license of My Store. 18, approve the 2025 transient merchant license of Tom's Taste of Chicago, T&D Concessions to sell food in Hibbing. 19, approve the 2025 merchants permit application for American Promotional Events, DBA TNT Fireworks to sell fireworks in a Walmart parking lot from June 20th through July 5th. 20, approve the travel requests of Brittany Dillinger and K9 Dottie to attend the yearly K9 recertification classes in Fishers, Indiana from August 24th through the 29th, 2025. 21, set the next Hibbing City Council meeting for Wednesday, June 18th, 2025 at 5 p.m. in the Hibbing Council Chamber. 22, set the next Hibbing City Council workshop meeting for Wednesday, June 18th, 2025, following the regular city council meeting in the Hibbing City Council chambers. Wishes of the council.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as read and published.
We have a motion to approve from Councilor Hoffman Sockman,
Support.
support by Councilor Fossil. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. This time we'll move on to public forum. And we have a written request by Mr. Andrew Peterson. Mr. Peterson, it is a 5-minute limit, and what I'd like you to do is just give your name and address before you start speaking. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Peterson, and we have just a little bit of information for you regarding the Highland Hills project that you're voting on tonight.
Address, please, too, Andrew, if you would.
211 Highland Drive,
Thank you so much.
Hibbing, Minnesota.
Yep.
So, in the beginning of this, we had 3 special meetings, and the first one I was like, okay, we watched this go through, and a lot of people were against this. The second one, same thing, and the third one, kind of same thing. The writing on the wall and the reading in the room was kind of against it, and I feel like a lot of the board members who weren't there didn't really get to hear us. So that's what I'm here for, to talk to you about. This, what's being passed through, is just a quick kind of a petition slash vote slash participation packet. We have 95 residences up in the hill, and 38 of them so far are not in favor of this project. There's 5 neutral and 3 in favor. So we're almost at a majority already. We still plan on going through with trying to get 100% participation for this packet. This is the original one right here, so you know what we're sending around to all the residences here. So we're asking the rest of the residents to participate in this and see where we lie. I thought I was missing something at these meetings. I was like, why is this being pushed through so much? Because they're asking for our input, and nobody's really listening. So that's what this all stemmed from. So I can only kind of give you the facts on this, and I kind of did quickly through that. This binder simply states the majority consensus of the Highland Park residents. So I can't speak for people, but I do have a lot of support here today, who I know is kind of standing with me on this. So when it comes to my feelings, moving forward, this, excuse me. I'm here basically to request the City of Hibbing to turn this project down. We know you're voting on this project step by step of the way, and we understand that that's the right way to do it. But the further this gets pushed out, the more money and expenses and time is being considered here for all of us. And we don't want to spend more money, time, and expenses on this. We are not in favor of this project for several reasons, and not limited to. The green space is used by everybody, not only the residents, but surrounding residents. We do not want ongoing construction by our homes over the course of years. And the first 95 homes were built over the course of years, 20 to 30 years. We do not want any extra traffic through the neighborhood. We want to keep the peace and quietness of the neighborhood. We are very concerned about the property taxes being affected. And we do not think the project will be cost effective. So, again, ask council to consider this and consider the people who are here and who aren't here, and hopefully in the future who will still be finishing up with this binder, to show you that the residents really are not in favor of this project. We'd like HEDA to possibly do this project someplace else. We're not against building homes in Hibbing. I strongly urge council members to seriously look at what they're voting for here. These are people's homes, which they invested their lives in. And I appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. For the sake of, we have now going to closed session. At this time, I would need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
So moved by Counselor Bayless,
Support.
support by Counselor Fossil. So at this time, we'll go into closed session.
Mayor, just, you need to state on the record, that this is with regard to the,
Okay,
for the
very good.
purpose of that, if you just want to read what's
I will
on the
do
agenda.
that.
Thanks.
So this is for the purpose of real property parcels 13901800257 near 3700 Fifth Avenue West.
Thank you.
Good. Yep. All right, we're back from closed session. I apologize, and I appreciate everyone being patient. At this time, we'll move on to department and committee reports, and first up is Community Developer Betsy Olivanti.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My first item is a request to approve Resolution 250601 to apply for and accept funds from the Department of Iron Range Resources and Rehabilitation Commercial Redevelopment Grant Program for the Aero Auto Expansion Project on Howard Street in Hibbing. Currently, the grant we're applying for is around $20,000 to $25,000 on a $295,000 project. And he does plan to do additional work on that building as well, but this would just be phase one. So the request is for that grant amount tonight.
Very good. Hearing what Ms. Olivanti had to say regarding applying for and accepting funds for the Department of IRRR Commercial Redevelopment Program, wishes of the council.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Hoffman-Sockman,
Support.
support by Councilor Fossil. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. B, Ms. Olivanti.
Thank you. Item B is the Highland Hills project update, including community feedback from the March 2025 engagement and a request for approval of concept for civil site planning. Now, this civil site planning tonight is merely to get costing from some civil engineering folks on what it would take to build the roads, et cetera, and start getting some of that idea together so that you can see what the true cost of building the neighborhood would be. In your packet tonight is the full presentation, including all of the concept plans from where we started, the tweaks that were done after September's meeting, the tweaks that were done after March's meeting, and then the revisions to those concepts that were done with staff input, including police, fire, and public works. And Mr. Streeter is here tonight to present on that. And from here, we'll request that approval to move that next step. Excellent. I will turn it over now to Mr. Streeter and Mr. Slack. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Okay, there we go. So tonight, Mayor and Council, we're going to do 5 things. We're going to talk a little bit about maybe 30-second overview of where we are with the planning status. We're going to just review the vision and goal statement. My partner, John Slack, will review the development concepts, all of the feedback that we received and how the concepts changed as a result of that feedback. Then I will just talk a little bit about some of the traffic movements and traffic counts, specifically some of the questions that the neighbors had raised. And then there'll be opportunities for discussion. As Ms. Olivanti said, the goal here tonight, if you're comfortable, is to pick a concept and then do what's called planning level estimating, which is not detailed engineering. It's simply looking at the infrastructure on a unit basis and then trying to estimate at a very medium to a high level what the costs may be. So with that, let me just continue. In your packet, these are the phases in the meetings that have occurred over time tonight. If you look at phase 3, we're here tonight at the June 4th meeting to review 2 final concepts. These concepts that John's going to review with you, that you had input on, the neighbors and staff, began with the vision and goals statement. And I'm not going to go through this. You've seen this before. But the vision and goals statement create or provide a framework to inform the development of the concepts. And so what we want to do now, what John's going to do, is take you through the concepts, what they are, the feedback we received, how they were modified based upon that feedback. John?
Evening, John.
Great, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. So as Bob mentioned, I'm going to walk you through the series of concepts that were presented either to this board or to the community. And I'll highlight at a high level some of the feedback that we received. So first set of concepts was presented to the council on 19th of February. First concept was labeled A1, and as you can see, it's a concept that pretty simple in nature, brings main road off of East 34th Street and East 31st Street. And the comments on the right are some of the comments that we received from different departments and then also this body. So from the fire department, we heard a lot related to response times. So being able to access the hill based on this concept and challenges with the access being shown on 34th and 31st. We also heard about maneuvering, and it'd be difficult to maneuver a truck up the new entry road along 31st and potentially even 31st. And then we heard about designated truck turnarounds. You'll hear that's a pretty consistent message as we move through the different series of concepts from the fire department. From Public Works, we heard about potentially snow accumulating on 34th, and that would be challenging, and then also turning radius of the vehicles that they use to plow snow. Another consistent set of comments that you're going to hear in most of these comments. And then from the council, the first night that we presented these concepts, we heard that the connection being shown on 34th should actually connect to the existing commercial street, which is planned south or just to the lower portion off of Mayfair rather than where we're showing it at Mayfair. And then that the access along 34th is going to require access through some privately owned parcels. Second concept, B1, you can see main access is coming off of 31st Street East on the west side off of 8th Avenue, the only access into the new neighborhood. Okay, okay. Some of the things we heard from fire department, again, access on 31st Street, the west side off of 8th, is more preferable than the previous concept, which was showing it off of 34th Street. And then one access into the neighborhood from the standpoint of the fire department is going to be really challenging. And so consistently through the development of the concepts, they always ask for at least 2 access points into this new part of this neighborhood. From Public Works, again, we heard a lot about snow removal. I'm not going to read those comments again, but same comments. And then from this group, we heard that we wanted to evaluate the feasibility of a road connection onto East Park Drive to create that second connection into this new neighborhood. And then access from 31st Street, the west side off of 8th Avenue, would again require potentially accessing through some privately owned parcels. And then the third concept, again, looking back at access along 34th and then an access off of 31st on the east side, and then an access into East Park Drive. So from the fire department, this was the concept that they preferred the most because it provided the most access into this new development area. They also said that the access was more preferable off of 31st East than it was off of 34th. From Public Works, snow removal is going to be a little bit challenging in that cul-de-sac. And then also snow removal is going to be challenging on 34th. So again, you're hearing about 34th from the snow removal and from a fire department access is going to be challenging. And then from the council, we heard that 34th Street would require, again, some additional private-owned parcels, and then connection from 34th should connect into the commercial street rather than Mayfair Avenue. So these were those 3 concepts presented at that first council meeting. The next set of concepts, refined concepts, went to the community meeting on March 24th. So some of these concepts were refined ever so slightly based on the first round of comments that we received. So for the first concept, A1, there was no change. We just wanted to present this concept as is. And then the main feedback that we heard from the neighborhood itself was that I would say a majority of the residents that were in attendance at that first meeting didn't want to see any sort of connection to East Park Drive. There was some comments from some people in attendance that it could be important from a safety access standpoint. I think the example that was given, if somebody was having a heart attack and you couldn't access East Park Drive now, that would allow ambulance and emergency vehicles to access into to the new neighborhood and the existing neighborhood. Comments related to East Park Drive is that if it was included, we really need to think about and potentially manage cut-through traffic. So cut-through traffic that's coming from 169 that wants to access into the west part of this, adjacent to this area. Stormwater management was going to be important, so making sure that any future development doesn't manipulate the land in a way that stormwater would start to affect existing homes. So essentially looking at grading and stormwater management to move waterway makes sense. And then the last was that there was some concerns that some of the proposed housing lots that were being shown impacted existing homes. So the proximity to how close the new lots were to some of the existing homes was going to be problematic. Here's the second concept. So we did change B1 to new concept B2, and essentially what we did was we added the East Park Drive connection, primarily based on the feedback that we got from the city departments. We also changed the connection that was at East 31st and 8th Avenue over to East 28th and 8th Avenue, just to start to eliminate some of the potential conflicts with the private property. And then the third, there was a cul-de-sac where the new East 28th access is, so we just removed that cul-de-sac. So comments that we heard from the neighborhood at this meeting, again, having to do with East Park Drive and the fact that I think a lot of people in attendance didn't want to see that connection happen. And if it did happen, we need to really think about what cut-through traffic looked like. And then stormwater management was a big concern again. From the fire department, so after that meeting, we went back to talk to the departments, said, here's some input that we received. Any additional comments on these changes, because these changes were different than what was presented to the council. So the fire department said that it really lacks a truck turnaround. So even though there's sort of a big loop, there would still be a need for a truck turnaround because they didn't want to go all the way out to 8th Avenue. Said at least 2 access points in the neighborhood is preferred for emergency access and response, which this does. And then access from 8th Avenue is challenging. I think it's because of the narrowness of the road. And then from Public Works, for the most part, the issues around snow removal, they felt like that was being accommodated in this concept now. And then the third concept, concept C2, there was a slight change from what was presented to the council to this community meeting, and that was second direct access point to this new neighborhood from East 31st Street. So the drive that's going right by the water tower was added into this concept. So from the neighborhood, we heard that didn't really want to see this East Park Drive connection. Again, cut through traffic was another key point, stormwater management, and then proposed lots and proximity to existing homes. So pretty consistent messaging on some of these concepts as it relates to those points. Fire department came back with this, the access on East Park Drive is preferred. However, it would require a designated truck turnaround between East 34th and the lots. The connection also provide an entry point into both the existing Highland Park neighborhoods, improving emergency access, and then access from East 31st Street on the west side was preferable to the access that we're showing in this concept on 34th Street. And then for Public Works, it's the snow removal comments again, specifically along 34th and snow accumulation on 34th. So that's where, that's these 3 concepts. At that meeting, we also did sort of an interactive workshop exercise. We had 5 tables set up. People in attendance actually went to a table. They had the concepts in front of them, and then they started to just generate a lot of comments and thoughts about the concepts. And then collectively, they reported back out to the entirety of the group some of the key themes that each group, each table of individuals decided was going to be important. So we took those comments word for word and we put them into kind of bigger themes. And so I'm going to just walk through the big themes and just highlight what the comments were. So first theme, road access, circulation connections. We heard that there should be no connection between existing neighborhood and Highway 169 and East 31st Street. If there's an entrance off of East 31st Street that connects to 169, there should be a one-way out. There should be no connection between new development and East Park Drive. Access to new neighborhoods should be from East 34th Street and 8th Avenue. There should be a second entrance off of East 31st Street and 8th Avenue. And traffic study needs to account for new traffic if connected to Highway 169. Under the theme of future neighborhood impacts, we're here to prevent stormwater drainage from new development to neighboring houses on East Park Drive, relocate future houses further away from those houses on East Park Drive, and then a question about how recent mining might impact future development and the school district. From a project budget funding finance theme, project financing should be transparent. It is not cost beneficial to add roads and utilities to the hill, and then what will current homeowners be assessed for the cost of the new development? For city services, we heard a comment that was fire, police, civil have not really had issues in the existing neighborhood, and then people live in the hill for a reason. We choose to live there. Safety and security access are not a priority. People working for the city should be able to plow without a second entrance to the existing neighborhood. And then new development and characteristics. There should be a variety of lot sizes larger than 65 feet. There should be sidewalks in the new development to promote pedestrian safety, and do not want to see a loss of green space on the hill. So that led to the concepts that we presented on June 4th to the council. So concept A1 was the first one we presented. Concept A1 has not changed through all the iterations of the concepts, and the council made a recommendation that A1 should no longer be under consideration as part of this process moving forward. Concept B3. So the big change on B3 from the previous B2 that was presented to the community was that the access that was previously planned along 8th Avenue and 28th Street has been shifted to 8th Avenue and 31st Street west. So you can see that new loop. And then a turnaround has been added at East 31st Street on the west side. So you can see at the end of the units on the right side, there's just a little kind of driveway access. That's basically to allow for trucks to pull in and turn around, pull in and pull back out, so that they could do sort of a three-point turn. This concept then was presented back to the fire department and public works. Fire department didn't have any comments. It met all of their safety access requirements for circulation, and public works felt that the concept met all their concerns really related to snow removal. And then this was concept C3. So the changes from what went to the public to the presentation to the council was that direct connection from East 31st Street on the west side into the new neighborhood was removed. Turnaround has been added. So again, very simple turnaround on the left-hand side of the drawing. And then new lots have been moved away from East Park Drive. So we essentially just removed some lots and shifted the road ever so slightly to the south. From the fire department standpoint, we get back into some of the similar comments as it relates to the access from East 31st Street is much more preferable than it is from 34th Street. Response times will be challenged and delayed based on the access on East 34th Street and East 31st Street. Maneuvering from East 34th Street is going to be difficult, again, with just the truck turning movements coming up the slope there into the neighborhood. And then generally all the other comments from the fire department they felt were met, but the circulation is a big issue for them. And then from public works, again, really relates to 34th Street access. Snow accumulation, snow removal was going to be challenging for them in any concept where 34th Street was one of the main access points into the neighborhood. And then that's what the previous two concepts were the last time we presented to the city council.
And then Mayor and Council, just to address a couple of issues the neighborhood raised. One was this idea of cut-through traffic. There was a concern by some of the neighbors that there would be cut-through traffic either from 7th Avenue East to 169 or the other way. So what we looked at was under concept B3, the distance, if you look at Beltline and East 31st, if you follow the blue line, that's about a little over 4,000 feet. If you look at the blue line up to the green line to East 31st on the west side, that's about 3,500 feet. And then if you look at the belt line all the way down to 25th, take a left, that's about 5,000 feet. So without a formal traffic study, if somebody wants to get from 169 to East or 7th Avenue East, they're going to look at what is the shortest route, what is the quickest route, and in this scenario, going from Beltline to East or to 7th Avenue East would be shortest and probably quickest, following East 31st, and then the green through the subdivision and out the backside onto East 31st. The area along 169 traveling to 25th and taking a left, that could also be considered pretty quick. It's a controlled access. We were out there today at 4 o'clock. The traffic seemed to be moving pretty smoothly. And then if you look at the blue line cutting through the actual existing neighborhood, that would be about 4,000 feet long, you know, halfway between the two other options. But there's a lot of curb cuts and then stop signs along that way. So we think a cut-through traffic is less likely because there's a lot of things to look at, a lot of things to watch out for, and there are stop signs along the way. When we looked at the C3 concept, there's probably a little greater likelihood that there would be cut-through traffic. The movement through the neighborhood doesn't change. There are still two stop signs, and then a lot of curb cuts, a lot to navigate compared to moving along Beltline and then taking a left turn to 7th Avenue East. If we look at concept B3 with the improvements that were the result of the MnDOT study, in talking with the MnDOT project manager, he indicated that there isn't anything, in his opinion, that's going to happen in the next 10 years unless, of course, there's some money that comes along that allows these projects to be accelerated. But if you look at the improvements along the Beltline at East 31st, or excuse me, at East 34th, there'll be a left turn lane off of 169. At East 31st, that median will be closed. So if you're traveling north and you want to come back and take a right onto East 31st, you have to travel 1,200 feet up and back, and then you would have to cut through the neighborhood. And then if you continue down to East, or to 169 and 25th, there's going to be a roundabout which allows a continuous turn. There is a yield function there. So at each of these three, if you look at East 34th and East 25th, that seems to be shorter. East 34th is, and much simpler to get to 7th Avenue East than it would be to cut through the neighborhood. When we looked at the C3, you've got the same kind of improvements. If somebody is traveling south of the site and they want to get to 7th Avenue East, they could take a left turn onto East 34th. It's an unencumbered stop all the way to 7th Avenue East. The same turning movement would be required at East 31st. You'd have to go down and back. And then the same movement at East 25th and Beltline. There'd be a roundabout with a yield function. So we just think that, could there be cut-through traffic? Yes, there could be cut-through traffic. Is it likely based upon some of this physical layout? I think it's more likely that people would travel the green routes than they would cutting through the neighborhood. Moving on, though, the other thing that we looked at was traffic. I know there was a concern about how much traffic will this new neighborhood generate. So the first thing we did is between October 29th and November 19th, we did traffic counts. We put a counter at the bottom of Highland Drive, and for 21 or 22 days, we counted the number of cars on a 24-hour period. So what you're looking at here are the number of ADTs. So this is the number of times a car passed this point in either direction. And so if you're looking at, for example, October 30th, that's the high point of 857 ADTs crossing that point in either direction. Now, at where you see the 1,035, that's Halloween, because there was a concern about there's a lot of traffic on Halloween. This is what it turned out to be this year. If you look at the blue line, 541, that was a Sunday. There's probably 40% less traffic on a Sunday, which isn't surprising. But on average, throughout this period, there were 748 ADTs. So that's 748 cars passing a single point in either direction during a 24-hour period. So what we did then is we looked at, on an hourly basis, at the times of the day. So if I want to point out, if you're looking at between 4 and 5 o'clock in the evening, At that point, there were 68 cars during that hour that would pass that point in either direction. And you can look at it midnight to 1 in the morning, all the way to 6 in the morning, there's really nothing. And then between 7 and 9, you'll see 47 people going to work. They're coming home between 4 o'clock and I would say 6 o'clock, and then it tapers off all the way to midnight. But on average, there are 32 vehicles passing in either direction within an hour. So then what we said was, well, what would happen if we added this 52-lot subdivision, and how would that impact these traffic counts? So if that 52-lot subdivision was in existence during this time period, we estimate on October 30th, instead of 857 ADTs a day, it would rise, I think it's, 22% to about a little over 1,050 rounded. But the average would rise from 748 to 914 ADTs a day. Again, an ADT being a car passing a single point in either direction. When we looked at it on an hourly basis, which I think is more helpful, if you look at 4 to 5 o'clock, you'll see under the initial study, it was 68 per hour with the 52-lot subdivision and with 40% of the traffic from the subdivision using East Park Drive, and that means not East 31st on the west side or East 31st on the east side. It would rise from 68 to 84 ADTs, again, a vehicle passing in either direction at a single point. So we tried to provide some idea of what traffic could be like. Now, the 40% could be 50, it could be 60, or it could be 30. It's hard to know without a formal traffic study. And so with that, we'd like to stop and answer any questions and allow the council to discuss these two concepts and any of the information, and we're happy to take whatever direction you'd like to provide. Mayor?
Thank you. Basically, what you just presented there was if there's a connection through the existing neighborhood, correct?
Correct.
I just want to make sure everybody understands that. Councilors, you heard the presentation. We have a chance now to ask questions. So the floor is open at this point.
I'd have a quick question to start, I guess. So these two options, B3 and C3, both have connections to East Park Drive. Those are the only two that you're presenting. There is not an option that would not have a connection now? Can you kind of go into that? Am I missing it?
So, Councilmember Faso, we have inquired to Public Works and the Fire Department about what do you think the consequence would be if there it was not a connection to East Park Drive, and we haven't received that feedback yet.
And that's why option A was removed? Correct?
Yeah, well, the option A1 was removed because of the access onto East 34th. It didn't work for the Fire Department or Public Works.
I guess like on option B3, could you remove the access to East Park Drive?
The access certainly could be removed, but we'd need feedback from Public Works and the Fire Department to see what the impact may be.
Because that would still remain on access to East 31st on both sides or into the 8th
Correct.
Avenue?
Yes.
But is part of the design of connecting to East Park Drive to provide the existing community with the fire needed? Is that?
Well, I think the existing neighborhood, fire would access along Highland Park Drive. That would be the first place they would go.
Right. Well, currently that's the only way, right?
Yes. Right.
And then I guess I have a second question if nobody else has them. As far as green space, I know when we looked at the concepts before, it talked about how much green space that would leave, somewhere maybe in the 30-acre area. I don't see that on these concepts. Is this just a rough draft of that?
Yeah, I think in every iteration of the A, B, and C concepts, the remaining amount of open space was between 30 and 40 acres on average. I think part of simplifying this presentation is that when you start to talk about the green space and stormwater management and landscaping, it's starting to get into sort of the next step of design. And I think a lot of conversations that we've had with you and the community have been mostly about access, circulation, infrastructure. And so the idea is that this conversation would really be about access, circulation, infrastructure, the road alignment, and then the next iteration based on one or two concepts would be we would start to evolve the design of public park, open space, stormwater management, those livability elements that really then start to add a lot more value to the concepts. And so that would really be our next step.
Thank you.
What was the total, 70 acres was the total acreage up there, the whole top of the hill. Is that correct?
Mayor and council, it was 65.73, that's everything. If you remove the sides, it ends
Yes.
up being 51 acres.
51 acres, and on most of your designs here of the 51 acres, what is the percentage of acreage on, because most of these are around that 40 to 50 range housing lots? And if you take into account the roads, what does that leave out of a 52 acre, 70 down to 52 minus your home building and your roads, what does that leave us for acreage? There has to be a general,
Somewhere between 30 and 34 acres for
so
green
what you had
space.
just mentioned, that's what you were talking about?
Yes.
Yep.
So you're losing about 52, you're down to about 20 acres in building?
Of the 65.
Yes,
Yes.
of the 65,
Yeah.
yes.
Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yes,
Was it the last community presentation? I think there was a lot of feedback that the lot sizes were too small. Did you capture that in this moving forward?
We did not, because that's sort of the next iteration of design as well. So what we decided to do was, after talking to local real estate agents, brokers, we sort of settled in on a nominal size lot of 65 foot wide. The next iteration would be to start to play with different lot sizes based on market conditions and provide potentially lot sizes maybe up to 85 feet, just based on what we know about the market, and probably down to maybe 60. So the overall developable percentage of the land will increase ever so slightly, and maybe the park space is going to decrease by maybe an acre or two, but it's not going to be super significant.
Thank you.
Mayor, I have a question.
yes.
So, going back to Councilor Faso, the two concepts we're looking at, both of them have access to the original development, and we're not entertaining another option that does not at this time?
Well, I think that's open for discussion right now. These are basically potential designs based on what you have gotten back from Public Works,
Yep.
Fire Department. I think anything is on the table right now as we look at this.
So, Mayor?
Yes,
Just to kind of lead off of that, I mean, the fire department's obviously gonna prefer to access that hill on 31st Street on that side of the hill, right? As opposed to going around, because, I mean, if the public safety building is gonna be right on the Beltline, they can hit it, go right up the hill there. So, I mean, in a matter of public safety, I don't know that it makes sense to not connect that through. I mean, just for that reason alone, for the fire department to not have to go all the way around, depending on which side of the hill or which development the emergency's in.
Absolutely, and in the different iterations of the concepts, once we had conversations with the fire department, we even entertained the idea of creating it would be a section of like trail that could be closed with bollards or something, removable bollards, or the bollards that could essentially go into the pavement so that the fire vehicle could pass through. Challenge there was they were like, well, you know, we have to get out, we have to remove the bollards, or we have to have somebody, you know, put the bollards down for us to connect through. So that was another option, to not have a physical road connection that vehicles could drive on except for emergency vehicles. So we you know, explored a lot of different options for what that might look like. Ultimately, that connection, even though they only asked for 2 connections into the neighborhood, that connection was important to just increase service and timing of service.
And then and the fire department really doesn't prefer the windy grade road down
34th
34th,
Street.
correct?
Right.
They don't
And
want that.
Public Works didn't like that either.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and the only other observation I'd make on that is on the concept B3, the road concept on the west side to 31st Street takes up a lot of green space to put that road in.
It does,
yeah.
and that's sort of the maximum extent of what we would need to be able to provide like a 5% grade, so an easy transition. Now, we'd probably have to manipulate that turning radius a little bit so that the bigger fire truck could make that turning radius, but it requires just more space to be able to do that.
Thank you.
Councilor Bayless, you were talking about going to 31st Street, going northwest, correct? That's the one you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay. My concern, and one I heard a lot about, was sightlines from the existing neighborhood, meaning they want a separation. If it did happen, they want a separation of neighborhoods. So how set on some of these, when you remove the furthest north lots to leave the green space that doesn't have to be reconstructed, or that's one of my concerns, is safety is huge. I understand the fire and police department, what they want, and how neighborhoods are built now. It's not even an option. That stuff, a lot of it wasn't thought about years ago. But I do know that, one of the things I heard is they still want that feel of being alone. That's why I asked the question about how many acres are really disturbed in construction.
Yeah, I think that's obviously a very valid point, Mayor. It's a comment that the city staff has asked of us just recently in the last couple of days. These concepts are still flexible. Like we're right. Focused in on sort of the framework, the road network, potentially the lot locations. I think there's things that we can do with landscaping. Now, yes, granted, landscaping takes a long time to grow, but if we do some landform manipulation, if we create berms, if we plant plants on the berms, evergreen trees, 365-day-year plant material is not going to drop leaves. There's a way to help start to control views, block views. There's nothing sacred about the number of lots. I mean,
right.
Ultimately, the number of lots that are being shown on this concept is going to be an economic factor for the city, right? It's going to be tax base. It's going to be cost of infrastructure improvements. There's nothing to say that we can't take 2 lots off of, or 4 lots of any of these concepts to just enhance and start to create even more separation between existing homes and the new development. So we still have that flexibility in these plans to be able to do that.
Mr. Mayor, the other
Yes.
thing we heard a lot about was the habitat, the animal habitat and all of that kind of stuff, and the wildlife, to make sure that we keep that, to have adequate, for that as well. I think that was brought up several times by the folks in the audience. I do know, it'd be nice to have 2 points of access in and out, because the way it is right now, and Jesse, I think when I was, many years ago, you moved that line back at the bottom of the hill, because when you park at that duplex, it's hard to get vehicles around it when there's when you meet the other oncoming traffic. So I'm glad we're looking at another access, especially for the safety of the residents.
Yeah, Councilmember, I think as it relates to habitat, really great point. As part of the goals that we established, there's a lot of goals around native landscaping, habitat creation. I think it's a lot of that is really about enhancing what's already there, and adding to it to create more of an ecosystem that allows for different types of plants and animals to exist on the hill. Even though there's more development up there now, we can increase the habitat to allow for more, for more access for animals. And I think part of it too, it's a great space, right? It's a great space for the people who live there. This would potentially allow more access to more of the community to that great space. Now, the great space is not going to be 60 acres, it's going to be 30 plus acres. But we haven't even started to talk about what the design of this park might be. This could be paved trails, could be unpaved trails, maybe there's a new type of playground, maybe there's other types of programming that happen in this park, on this hill, that don't exist now, which will definitely offer up more opportunities for the community to come to this space and use this space.
I did like the idea, if we move forward, 2 accesses, I think, is fire and police, based on what I see here, that they feel they need. I do like the, having the opportunity to access East Park Drive, but I do like your comment about not making it accessible unless it's truly needed to be used for safety. You know, how you deal with that in the wintertime, Jesse, for plowing, I have no idea, because that does change the dynamics. I mean, there's nothing that can't be done if you think it through hard enough. Again, I want a visible separation, if this moves forward, between existing neighborhood and the additional. I do like B3 in that it pushes everything to the west as much as possible and south, leaving the majority of the area open. Yes, you'll have a road going through there, but you can turn that into an amenity rather than negative. And as you mentioned, the number of homes, we've got, what, 92 homes on the existing? Is that what's on the existing? What's? 94. How many?
94.
Okay, but it's 90 something. Yeah, it's okay. I knew it was 90 something, so thank you.
I would say for Mr. Mayor, if, for me to continue to support it, like these, there definitely needs tweaks, like you said. In my head, I see two distinct neighborhoods, of large green space separating them, maintaining the wooded areas, the trails, and not jamming a bunch of homes up here. I mean, I would just personally axe a bunch of these off here on like every design
It's not a
here.
B3.
Especially ones that are close, that butt up to the last houses that are up there on the north. And I'd want to make the residents happy. Like I wouldn't want, like you got to punch a road in to do your construction. I wouldn't want trucks hauling up nonstop through the neighborhood for a year or whatever. Yeah, I like all three still. I would need some tweaks, and I'm not an engineer. I would think it could be done, but.
Well, what we're looking for in, Betsy, I'll reach out to you right now. What we're looking for is concepts and what the cost would be to even say, is this cost effective?
Correct.
Based on how many homes would it take if we were to do this?
Correct.
And what type of outside funding can we get through infrastructure, either state, IRRR, whatever, to do something to not put it on our taxpayers?
Absolutely. And so the 40 to 52 homes, we had that run analysis financially in our accounting department. And right now, with the concepts that have been presented, it's anywhere from 11 to 12 million of added estimated market value by adding this neighborhood to the city of Hibbing. So, you know, based on what's in the neighborhood already and those sorts of things. So when we look at that, then we can look at the return on investment for putting in roads and adding those, the lots, et cetera.
And that was
Yep.
based on how many lots did you say?
Anywhere in the 40 to 52 range.
Okay.
So obviously the 40 is at the lower and the,
Right.
you know.
Mayor, I have a question, and I don't know if Betsy wants to take this. Is there gonna be a pre-sale so that this project does not go forward unless we pre-sale a certain amount of homes? Or is it you build it and hope people build on it? Or what's the game plan going forward?
That's
with that?
all up for you to decide at this point. So first, we'll get some costing on what it could potentially cost to, you know, design the neighborhood as concepts have been presented. And then after that, you get to decide those things. Do you want to sell to one single developer and have that all built out from there? Do you want to sell individual lots? Does the city want to act as developer? There's multiple options that we will work with our consultant on to pick one at that point. But none of that has been decided, and you will be able to make those decisions.
Okay.
Remember, just from the basis of where this all started, the city comprehensive needs analysis found that we desperately need more homes in this town. The Parks and Trails Master Plan found that we have a lot of additional or extra park space based on what the tax levy can support as far as maintenance and repairs and staffing. And then the city was deeded this particular parcels on this particular location by private individuals for continuation of single-family dwellings in this particular neighborhood. And that's where we started and why this project came about.
We have the fire department here. Would you mind coming up, Chrissy?
I did ask Chief Jankla to send somebody, and I know Jesse has been through all of these concepts as well. And
I
has given
mean,
input.
my question is tying into just one of my questions, East Park Drive. I mean, because I look at this B3, I look up concept addresses the fire department concern, public works, the concept addresses public works concerns. If East Park Drive connection wasn't there, and I know I'm asking you just to make a comment on this, you still would have access, a two-way access to the new addition. You wouldn't have it to the existing Highland Park.
From what I can tell, yes. And I think that just with the size of the rigs that we have and stuff like that, to be concerned about maneuvering is definitely a factor.
According to the fire chief, they like to bring 2 rigs if there's a large conflagration and run by each other and then set up. And so they need to have 2 access points to every neighborhood if we have an opportunity to.
Yes, I would agree.
So the East Park Drive connection is to allow 2 access points to the current Highland Park neighborhood.
Okay. So what I hear you saying, access to both the old neighborhood, Highland Park, and Highland Hills, you want 2 accesses to both? From the fire department point
I
of
would
view.
say yes, that would be correct.
Steve, can I pick on you today too? You're the fire department, fire chief here, or police chief? I'm sure you had input on this also.
So our cars are obviously a lot smaller,
Yeah,
and we can maneuver a lot easier, so we're pretty flexible.
okay.
Fire is obviously the one that it impacts more, but for PD, it's obviously a lot easier for us to get around and to get places, so I truly don't have a honest opinion one way or another,
Okay.
because it doesn't truly affect the way we respond.
And yeah, good point. Your size of your vehicles, what you do. Mr. Story, can I ask you a question as far as utilities accessing to Highland Hills? Where do our utilities end right now in Highland Park? And knowing what you know right now in this concept, where would our utilities extend from?
They would extend, Mayor Council, they'd extend to the current Highland Park utilities that are at the end of the roads. You know, looking at any of these concepts, I don't think any of the elevations were looked at to see if utilities could get there without pumping anything.
Right,
So we don't know if any of this will work.
right. And that's what we need to find out.
Right, so, you know, you look at the one concept here that works for public works is B3 without looking at the radius points to turn a road grader, a 52-foot fire truck. We don't have any of those answers if any of that'll work. You know, so these are just plain concepts.
Right.
2D looking on paper. So yeah, but the utilities would be connected to the existing utilities on Highland Park.
So utilities would be from East Park Drive or Mesaba Drive, whichever it is.
Yes,
The utility right away would just be
Yep.
extended.
correct. And you know, getting to the southeast portion of that development, we don't know if gravity sewer will get down there.
Right,
You know, that hasn't been looked at. So,
okay. So you could, what you're saying, you could have a lift station, you could have many different concepts.
right, and you know, a new lift station's you're $300,000-400,000 for a lift station, so
Right.
it's not cost effective in a development like this.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes,
So, how much have we spent, I guess this is a Sheena question, so far on all of this concept design and that type of thing? Do we know, do we have those numbers?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but I could get them for you.
That would be great. Thank you.
so again, I go back to you, Ms. Olavanti, let them finish talking. Betsy, just going back to you, what you're looking for is, do we need a defined concept here? There's some things that have been talked about for you to go to the next phase on what your infrastructure costs would be, because that's basically roads, sidewalks, sewer, water, electricity. That's what you're gonna find out, and that's why you need your civil engineering.
Correct, and so if you study multiple concepts, it costs more. It's just a basic fact. I believe, to Counselor Hoffman-Sockman's question, we put aside a fund of $250,000 to study this particular development. That's what we started with. We can get back to you with what's been spent so far. We haven't spent the whole thing so far, but that's where we started.
Yeah, all our environmentals were the first thing that was accomplished.
Yeah, in fall of 2022.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Appreciate that.
So what you're looking for is an authorization, but, if, I don't see us coming to a conclusion of what concept. Maybe B3 was the closest to what, based on fire and police, which I think is critical. I think we addressed some concepts in the sense of leaving as much green space, getting separation of neighborhoods, having two separate residential areas that are, intertwined but yet separated. So if we went with B3 and not the amount of home sites, because that's irrelevant. What you're looking for is roads, infrastructure through those roads. The home sites then become their own animal as you decide how big, how many.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I think if the council decided to kind of go with B3 with all the feedback you've given us, we could take that feedback, modify the concept. We could also look for ways to maybe allow a connection for emergency service vehicles to East Park Drive, but maybe not personally owned vehicles. If there's a way to make that connection so the fire department and police can get in and out of there, but not people from the neighborhood. They would continue to use East 31st on the west and east. We can look at that too. And we can have conversations with Public Works and fire again. But I think in terms of the planning level estimates, we would want to maybe just begin with, say 50 lots, because we're going to have to determine the planning level estimate to run sewer from the main to the house. So we would pick a number, we'd say, okay, let's do an estimate based upon 50 lots, understanding the council may end up going with 40 lots, but at least for planning level estimates, so it's a little more holistic.
This is gonna be a
Yes.
really,
You go first, Justin.
yes,
You were-
please do so.
All right. I know you've mentioned B3, but, I feel like C3 actually, especially if you reduced some of the lots on the north side, would create more of a two-community area. I think running that road, I was trying to look at the map, but that road looks like it almost is gonna butt up against the existing park. And create, I guess in my mind, that creates a road in everybody's backyard. So every time somebody goes up and down that road, it's gonna be making noise where there wasn't noise before. Whereas if we look at C3, all the traffic goes away from the existing community. I understand 100% the safety need to have a connection to the existing Highland Park. Because I think, under our existing zoning and law rules, you couldn't build a development like that because it's only one exit, right? Like, that's not safe. That's not how we would build a new one. So I get having that, but that through traffic, that's a big issue. And I love the idea of, those nice cones that disappear when a truck drives up, but I just see a lot of cost and failing in that. If anything, I love the idea of some really big speed bumps where traffic can't get through, maybe double them up. Plowable speed bumps, that would make that very much not a road that somebody would want to cut through on, as opposed to the safety vehicles could get through. Just my thoughts.
Counselor?
So, kind of piggybacking on that, and this is probably a really stupid question, but why do we have to have them connect? I mean, so if you put the green space, keep Highland Park the way it is, put the green space, and then do another development, and the only way they would connect is with that one road for emergency vehicles, and that's it. And so have that other entrance just for that new neighborhood. Have we talked about that, or is that so far off the?
I'm not sure I followed.
Okay, okay. So keep Highland Park the way it is, right?
Mhm.
And then have the green space on the other side of, what is it, where the houses end right now,
On East Park Drive.
on East Park Drive. Put that as the green space, and then just come up and have another entrance coming up, however it would be. That won't work, will it? Have we talked about other roads coming up the other way?
Well, I think you're
20.
seeing that.
Yeah.
Right, so have three separate neighborhoods. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I think there was a concept where
There was a-
28th Street connected. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yes, yes, so that we leave the existing neighborhoods alone.
Yeah,
What happened to that concept?
so there's no connection from the future neighborhood via East Park Drive to the existing neighborhood?
Correct, correct.
And so you're asking if we just had an access from East 31st on both sides, would that work?
Would that work? Yes.
I think what I heard, I don't know if the fire chief or the assistant fire chief say they would like more than one access into the neighborhood. And what I was suggesting was maybe there's a way to connect the new neighborhood to East Park Drive, but only for emergency vehicles.
Exactly. Yes.
And I don't know the answer to that right now.
Okay.
We'd want to explore all of the
Yeah.
options, talk to Public Works and Fire, and then come back.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, we're still to the point of, do we want, what Ms. Olanti is looking for tonight, and that is to get authorization to get some costs on infrastructure. And I guess what you need is a concept as close as possible to what a council would agree to. And what I heard, you mentioned just a minute ago, Mr. Streeter, was you would do that up to 50 homes. It could be back to 40 if you needed, but you always go on the high end, you never go on the low end.
And Mayor, if I could say, at least what I've heard is on concept C3, for example, you know, is there a way to maybe remove some of those homes that are closer to the existing lot? I know I received an email from one of the homeowners. We've heard feedback about maybe on either concept, creating a greater distance between the homes on East Park Drive and this new subdivision. I think we've also heard, is there a way to create some kind of connection at a minimum for emergency vehicles between the new and the existing neighborhood? And then I think, you know, Jesse brought up this idea that evaluating, doing planning level estimates, looking at utilities and their capacity and ability to serve this area. So we could take that feedback and explore planning level estimates with that in mind, if you're comfortable with that.
Counselor, you heard what Mr. Streeter had to say.
I think we definitely need more information to make informed decisions if we move forward.
Well, I know the one thing I did hear for sure is there's concern tying into the existing. Separation of neighborhoods is important from visibility, sightline. Noise was just brought up by Councilor Faso, and I don't know, you know, how the dynamics of that works because you're at the highest point of the property. So, but those are all things that have to be discussed. But I think one should be, if just so that we know what our numbers would be, whether it's even possible to do anything and to move forward, we need to know the next level of numbers.
So Mayor, Council, would you make a motion tonight then to go forward with one of these concepts with the tweaks that Mr. Streeter has mentioned? You know, looking at the potential of only access for the emergency services, looking at the, you know, what the infrastructure cost would be to extend the utilities, et cetera. You know, so that you can have a good ability to make a decision on, you know, are you pursuing this project to continue to make, you know, moves towards development of this neighborhood?
You know, again, the two things I looked at was what concepts the fire department and public works was the most comfortable with. They're the ones that'll be dealing with it 24/7, 365, based on what happens within a community and time of year.
Their recommendation, I believe, Jesse, was B3, just to look at the costing of
Yes.
it.
Yep.
We sat down with the fire chief, police chief, and we talked about all the concepts. And from what we have in front of us, B3 is the only one that we think that'll work. If the radius points on there can make a grader work and
Yeah,
I think
you're talking about the roads.
yeah, I think the
Yep.
fire truck new fire truck's 52 feet long. If that can get around those radiuses, you know, just looking at the concepts that we were given.
And this is, our roads up there 66 foot
Right away.
right away?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, that's important too, because we're not downsizing the roads. So it's wider than what the existing Highland Park says.
The
Where's
right,
Highland about 66 right now?
the right away is.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. And the road would be how wide?
The road could be whatever you want it. You know, you could have a 28-foot top, 30-foot
Okay.
with curb and gutter, sidewalk, boulevards, no boulevards, it's whatever you.
Sorry.
Remember in one of the prior presentations, there was all the different cross-sections of the types of roads that you could select
Yes,
for the
right.
subdivision?
Yes.
So we're looking to go out for an RFP to get to that next level of numbers? Is
Actually,
that what we're doing tonight?
Counselor Hildenbrand, we don't necessarily have to do a full RFP to get you some high-level estimates back. That would happen at a later date. This would just be to look at some of the things like Jesse's mentioning. Lift stations, is that required? Utility extensions, et cetera. This is a very high-level estimate to understand what the overall cost might have to be in order to extend this neighborhood. And then at that point, you could make some decisions.
So what's the cost to that?
Right now, in the budget is $6,000?
Yeah, it's pretty minimal.
Yeah.
Mayor?
Yes.
Unless anybody has any pressing questions, I will tender a motion to move forward. I'll make the motion to move forward with concept B as our base, with sensitivity to the emergency B3, sorry, yep. With sensitivity to the access to that, East Park Drive and the other issues that we're talking about here. But to get it moving forward, I would make the motion for B3.
All right, Counselor Bayless has made a motion. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
All right, we have a second by Counselor Hoffman Sockman. Any more discussion?
Yeah, so for the price to not exceed or something, or just so we have a cap on what? Is that?
Council member, in the scope of work that you approved, the cost to do planning level estimates for one concept is $6,000, period.
Okay.
It will not exceed $6,000.
Okay.
Okay,
And I just
yes.
wanted to make the
Other
comment,
discussion?
so.
Mr. Fossil?
So, thank you. So really what we're looking at is checking to see if this option, if it is even possible in cost-wise to even build up on the hill. Well, looking at what the best option is for the existing community with least impact. And if it turns out it's not possible, that the costs are just too expensive, that it just isn't gonna make sense, because of the way we received this property, there is nothing else that we can do up there. We
Correct.
can't build a park, we can't build trails, we can't do anything up there.
8
Because the-
acres of contiguous parkland, correct, Counselor?
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure that I understood
Yeah,
that.
so, also, before we vote on the motion, you do need a specified number of homes that we're gonna anticipate you would get your estimates for, correct?
Yes, council member, I was assuming we'd go with 50 and you'd
That
have
is
the ability to lower it if you want.
That is correct, okay.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion by Counselor Bayless, seconded by Counselor Hoffman Sockman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Betsy. At this time, we move on to building official, Mr. Green.
I'll be shorter. Mayor and council, this is, we have a grant application prepared and ready to be submitted to IRR for $16,746, and this is for our demolition program. 6 structures, 3 garages, 1 house, 2 small cabins, 2 cabin-like structures. 4 of these properties will be rebuilding garages.
Okay.
And we need a resolution by the city before the application can be submitted. That resolution number, I think do we have a number? Number 250602.
Okay, we have a resolution, Mr. Green's asking to make a grant application, accept funds from Metropole Residential Redevelopment Grant Program. Wishes of the council.
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Counselor Whitney.
Support.
Support by Counselor Hildebrand. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Thank you, Pat.
Thanks.
We move on to Christie, you'll be speaking for Chief Jenkler?
Yes.
Very good.
Greetings.
Greetings.
So in your packets, you should have the letter that I sent. Hopefully you guys all had a chance to read it. Basically, I'm requesting, or Chief Shankler's requesting, that we can authorize the 90-day termination notice for our current EMS billing company, EMSMC. Between myself and the ladies in the finance department and the city administrator, we're not satisfied with what EMSMC is giving us, and we would like to move forward with terminating that so we can proceed to another company.
Okay. Hearing what was just mentioned regarding termination notice, wish of the council.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to
Motion,
approve.
motion by Counselor Hoffman Sockman.
Support.
Support by Counselor Fossil. Discussion. Christie, when you first got them, we were very satisfied with them.
We
Now
were.
I see they were bought out by a bigger company.
Yes.
Is it since they were bought out
Yes.
that they have gone, they're looking for more profit than just performance?
They're a very large company, and
Yes.
we are a very small piece of their puzzle.
Okay,
And their customer service lacks. My customer service with my particular person,
yeah,
she's great, but the big company aspect of it isn't doing what we need it to do.
okay. Because we had just made that change about 2 years ago, I think.
We started with Transmedic, the one
Yeah.
that we chose, October 1st, 2022, and then EMSMC purchased Transmedic in April of 2023. So we had a short window where Transmedic was awesome and they did really good stuff
Yeah.
for us, and then they sold out, and, you know, it's the constant promises of, we're working on
Right.
it, customer service will get better, and it's not.
Very good. I just wanted everyone to understand that we really did like them before they were sold out.
Yes.
And we've lost the customer service, that personal touch that we had before, correct?
Absolutely.
Very good. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This time we move on to City Clerk, Deputy Administrator, Ms. Sepula.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm bringing before you today the RFP, which is a request for proposals for the animal sheltering services. We've had the animal intake since February 1st, and we've been able to manage the number of animals coming in. We have been vetting them out. We have been getting some to the rescues. The problem is all the rescues and shelters are filling up quickly. Springtime is a really tough time for a lack of animals. We have been working on the RFP and feel it's ready to be put out for bids. We will have a panel of people going through the RFP submissions and during the process of bringing one to the city council for approval at some point. This has been a process that we couldn't have done without city staff, namely Alyssa Garcia, who really stepped up to the plate, and workers at the intake building. They've been phenomenal. They've made the animals their priority through love, attention, and the time given. So we want to thank everyone who has helped keep the animals off the street, including police, and to the shelters, rescues, vets, and the Ely Vet Technical School, who we were able to secure free vetting because they're teaching their students. So a lot of our spays and neutered animals were taken care of up there, and they did a phenomenal job. So I really wanted to call them out. We really appreciate them all. So for the first course of action, I'm looking for approval for the RFP. I did send it out yesterday to you, so I hope you had time to take a look at it. I did give you a hard copy tonight if you want to take it home. Just wondering if you could authorize us to go out for bid, to approve it and authorize us to go out for bid. So I would need a motion on that. And then the second thing that I'm looking for is for the ordinance 10.21 for licensing requirements to include microchipping. This will limit the number of animals who should end up at the shelter. A lot of times people, like their animals get picked up at 9 or 10 o'clock at night. They might just be in their yard, but someone calls on it. And then I've gotten calls at literally 10 and 11 at night. Hey, my dog got there, can you help me out? I can't, so it goes through the process. But they could, so Chief Esty and I spoke about getting their CSOs, even their police officers, microchipping machines. They range in price from $25 to $600. It can eliminate more animals going out to the shelter or to the intake at this point, but also the shelter. And then, you know, there's a phone number on the microchip within the animal, and then they can be brought or called, the owner could be called, or at least bring it back because the address is also on there. So again, I'm actually looking for two motions. The first one would be to approve the RFP and authorize us to go out for bid. The second one would be for just looking at the ordinance, so we'd want to bring that for a change. So adding the microchipping to the licensing part of it. We kind of went back and forth. There was a change in 1998 to bring the cats, take the cats out of the ordinance for our police officers don't have, and our CSOs don't have to bring them out to the shelter. We've found that there are a lot of feral cats in town, and we've had some incidences where the CSOs or even our people out at the shelter have gotten either bit or scratched. But the friendly ones, I mean, we always want them to bring them out because usually they're somebody's. So, like I said, if I could get the approval on the RFP first and then authorize us to go out for bids, that would be the first one if you so choose.
Okay, hearing what Ms. Sepla had to say regarding RFP, wishes of the council.
Motion to approve?
We have a motion made by Councilor Fossil,
Support.
support by Councilor Bayless. Discussion. RFP, I wish I would have had more time to just review this. I did have a chance to meet with Grand Rapids. They actually came here, explained a lot of what they do. They actually service an area as the whole Itasca County, and it's interesting that they deal with less animals than we do. They do not do feral cats, so you know they take a lot of animals right out of the play. You know they have worked out agreements where there's no cost for their transfer to the shelters because of their communication and their agreements they've had for many years. So I think that's where we need to get to. You know, I'm just we need to do something, and I know we're working towards the property of that building also, to help us make more long-term decisions.
And Mayor, just to let you know, last year, I think our total number, I'm gonna be a little bit off, but it was like 240 or 243, and we're already up to 150. So
Yeah.
when you add kittens and puppies and all of that, they add up quickly.
No, and where are the animals coming from is my question. I think Grand Rapids, 175 they do for the, I think
For the
it was
whole
for the whole year.
Yeah.
And we're at that already, 5 months into the year, there's something wrong.
Correct.
And again, their service area is all of Itasca County.
Well, and you have to remember, we're not taking surrenders, so there's a difference between our police picking them up
Right.
and surrenders. So, I mean, are people just letting them loose? I don't know. Are they, they're not able to surrender them, so that would be different,
Okay,
Yeah.
I said what I wanted to say. Anybody else?
I have a question about this
Yes.
RFP. Is this to put somebody back into the building or working with other rescue groups in their own facilities?
Thank you, Counselor Whitney. At this point, we want to do a 1 year. Hopefully by that time, we will know if we would be able to purchase that land that we've been looking at where the animal shelter is. So yes, we would have them in our building at this point for 1 year.
Okay, but
Yeah.
I'm still in the camp, we need to get out of that. Like, this
And that is our plan.
to not have
Not
a
have it at
city-owned
all.
building with a third party in it
Correct.
on leased land. Like,
Correct.
just work with outside groups if we.
Correct. Yeah.
I want to add one other comment. I know Alyssa has done a great job, but she has a dual responsibility in blight and everything, and is taking away from some of her other responsibilities. So in my mind, that's why we need to correct this,
Yes.
because we're asking her to do too many things, and we're losing another part of what she should be focusing on.
Yeah. And at this point, I mean, we could possibly have somebody in here before August 1st, which
Yeah.
was, basically our target date was June to August.
Okay.
But now that we have our RFP ready to go, it's.
Very good.
Mhm.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Candy. And
Yep.
then
Then the second one would, to revisit the ordinance.
Yep.
10.21, including the microchipping, as part of the licensing.
Okay.
And so we would, Attorney Borland, would we have to post that now for 10 days or?
Correct.
Yes.
We need to get posted for at least 10 days before the council could take it up whenever that timing
Right.
works.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so I need a motion for microchipping. Wishes of council.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Councilor Bayless. Support. Support by Councilor Hildebrand.
I do have a question.
Any other comment?
Yeah.
Yes,
Is that customary for other places that are doing animal control that way?
This, we had talked about it within, and it's because we are getting so many. So if people are going in for their licenses, they have to have them microchipped, and you get a certificate for it. We just feel that it's going to be something that's gonna give us a little less, for animals out at the shelter, or that they're staying an extra period of time, or in the intake.
A couple questions on that.
Yes,
So
Councilor Fossil.
how long would they have to have their dog microchipped for our existing?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're just trying to move this forward, so I don't know how you'd put that in the ordinance, but,
So I don't know enough about the microchipping myself to know, Counselor Fossil, whether or not if you initially get your license, that the one chip will then maintain the lifetime and the renewal, it won't have to be microchipped again. I don't know the answer, but that might be something we have to research about the language before we put in the ordinance.
My question is, I guess, so if somebody has a license right now and has an animal, or all of the animals that we have right now in the city, like, if we enforce this in 10 days and vote on it, does everybody in 11 days have to sign up to get microchipped?
I would presume that it's all the new animals that are kind of come in for licensing.
Correct.
So new.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Candy, correct me if I'm wrong, I would presume it's for all dogs or cats that aren't licensed at this point in time. Any new licenses, you need to come in and get your animal
And-
microchip.
And I'm 100% in favor of the microchip, don't get me wrong.
Yep.
But our current load of animals that we're getting, are the majority of those licensed?
Well, it's tough to say because if they don't have their tag on them, we don't know. You know, so that is something that they put it in with a, like an injection.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like before we were there, Hibbing, or the Range Regional Animal Rescue, they microchipped any animal that was going out. So those that we have out there right now, every time one has gone in for spay, neutering, any kind of vetting, we've had them microchipped. Yeah, and so we have the microchips out there. We bring them to wherever we're having the,
Procedure.
yep.
And then the goal would be to have all of our officers have a reader with them, so they
Correct.
could read it right there at that time and take care of
It,
it.
it could be in each vehicle or whatever, or
Okay.
CSOs, yeah.
Awesome.
We do work well, because my
Yes.
dog was multi-chip, or was chipped, and when he was a puppy and got loose, we found out where he was right away,
Right,
so.
so.
Thank you.
We
All
just
right.
feel that that's a way to maybe bring the number down of animals. that
Any
we
other
have.
questions regarding our concerns regarding microchipping? Did I get a first and second on that? Yes. Okay, we have a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Very good. Thank you, Candy.
Thank you.
Mr. Pacensky, Administrator's Report. Anything tonight?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, City Council, two quick items. First item, I know that everybody's schedule gets really crazy during the summer. We are planning to have that annual audit delivered to the City Council on the 2nd of July, if there are no objections. Item number two, a reminder for our residents, cleanup day Friday and Saturday, this Friday and this Saturday. So that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. All right, at that time, we'll move on to bids and quotes. Mr. Story.
Mayor Council, we opened bids for our alley paving project for this summer. Low bidders from KGM Constructors in the amount of $663,941.25. Our estimate on this was a little over $552,000. This is the first time we've done this project, so it's kind of tough to estimate it with the quantities. We have a $500,000 budget for the alley paving for this year. Our paving project was roughly $200,000 under budget. So thinking about it, talking with the city administrator, I don't feel comfortable at this point using that money that we're under budget from the paving project on the alley project, because we haven't even started that project yet.
Right.
So I'd ask council if we could get the project down closer to $500,000. I did talk to KGM. They're willing to work with us on that.
Okay.
So we just cut out a couple of the alley segments. We're doing 16. We can look at the cost for each alley and take a couple of them out, get down to the $500,000. I'd ask council that we could move forward with that instead of going over our budget and depending on another project to fund the rest of it.
Right. Very good, sound approach. Looking for support for the alley paving project.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Councilor Hoffman Sockman,
I'll support it.
support by Mr. Bayless. Jesse, the one thing I was gonna ask, we're doing a subcut. Can you explain what is actually gonna be done? It's not just an overlay.
Yeah.
Would you please
Yeah,
explain?
Mayor, Council, so the alleys are between First Avenue, Third Avenue West, from 31st Street to 39th Street. We'll be replacing the concrete apron coming into the alley, doing a subcut with new base material, new bituminous for the entire length of the alley. So the ends of the alley and the alley will be new pavement and new blacktop.
Very good. And this is the first year of the start of our alley paving program.
Correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Yes.
Just one, we are fully orchestrated with HPU. We don't, are we communicating about where these are happening?
Yep, so I sent over the alley plan a while back before we bid it.
Yep.
Because they do have new gas service requests and things like that, which are gonna happen. You know, we pave these alleys and somebody wants to change from a current, heating source to another. But we are south of where the steam is, so it's only gas and sewer in the alleys and electricity, so.
Okay.
But we have been in communication, with them to line this project up.
Perfect, thank you.
Very good. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. B, Mr. Story.
Mayor, Council, I have a change order request for our lining project. So we had the contractor come in. The sanitary sewers are in a lot poorer condition than we first thought. These are all clay tile services. So when they bring we televise or clean them and televise them, and a lot of times there's protruding taps, so somebody's service will be sticking down into the main. We have to cut those off. They send in a 4-foot cutter for that. The mains are in such poor condition where they're moving up and down vertically, horizontally. We can't get that in there, so we have to cut it off the robot. Looking at the project, we are $320,000 under budget on the bid. In situ form, submitted a change order for a not to exceed amount of $62,500. Looking at the project and how many feet of pipe we're doing, I believe that's a very fair number. So I'm asking council to approve the change order so we can move forward with the project and get this going.
Very good. Hearing what Mr. Story had to say, wishes of the council.
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Counselor Fossil. Support. Support by Counselor Whitney. Discussion. Jesse, we have, 81 miles of storm, I think, in this city?
Storm or sanitary?
Sanitary, I mean.
90,
Okay,
81
so
to 90.
But it's a lot.
close,
What have
yes.
we accomplished now through the lining and
Through
repairs?
the end of this year will be a little over 26 miles with sanitary sewer lining that we have completed.
Okay.
So quite a bit. This year, the project's 24,000 feet,
Okay.
something like that.
I
So
just
it's-
wanted the residents to know how
Yeah.
much we have done already
Yep.
and the enormity of the project in front of you. So.
Yep.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. I need a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved by Counselor Bayless,
Support.
support by Counselor Fossil. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you.